Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Wildflower Tea, and today, my friends, we are talking all about the Chrisleys. Now, it has been a hot little minute since we've talked about the Chrisleys over here. I think the last little update I did was right after they started their prison time, and Savannah Chrisley has dropped some updates here and there on her parents and how they're doing, how they've gotten settled in, and things of that nature. There's also been a lot of articles done as well, just different things saying that the Chrisleys are struggling, they're having a hard time, all of these different things. But I try to stay in the loop with what's going on based off of the Unlocked podcast by Savannah Chrisley, and she drops the deets over there quite often. The last update we had, we heard that she really kind of went into detail that I knew of, was that we heard that they were doing good, that they had some difficulties with communication between Julie Chrisley and Todd Chrisley, and they were struggling with that aspect, and of course the emotional aspect of it all, but that they were remaining strong and getting through it. And she also gave an update on the appeal as well, and where we were with that. Well, you guys, a few days ago, she did. And like I said, since then, she's made little comments here and there on how her parents are doing, but it's been very brief, not a lot to really say. And then last week, I seen an article talking about the emotional distress that the Chrisleys were going through and how they were really struggling and in bad conditions and they couldn't deal with it. And they're just crumbling. You guys, they're just breaking apart, right? And the Chrisleys have decided to speak out on that and say something. So that is what we're going to be covering today, is what Savannah Chrisley and Chase Chrisley had to say on her latest podcast episode. Again, if you guys have not seen that, the full podcast episode is in the description down below, and I do recommend you guys go and check it out. But they focus a lot in this episode on the inhumane conditions in which Todd and Julie Chrisley are currently in, plumb down to Julie Chrisley having poisonous snakes at her bedside. I couldn't imagine, and they go into it a lot deeper. I have clipped it for copyright purposes and for us to commentate over and just kind of give my opinions in that way. But you guys, it is a lot. It's a lot. Before we get into it, I want to make it clear to everybody, that way there is no confusions, that everything I say in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. Please do not be a petty Betty and send hate to anyone mentioned in this video. We're just here to kind of talk about what has been going on. And I wanted to give you guys an update because it had been so long since we've discussed the Chrisleys. There's not been a lot to discuss. Let's be honest about it. With them in prison, there's, what is there to discuss, really? They're doing their prison time. The Chrisley siblings, the children, are trying to get on their feet and trying to learn this new way of life without their mom and dad. And that is the saddest part of it all, is that I feel my heart feels for Chloe. I feel for Grace and Savannah, all of them. And I'm sure the transition into that lifestyle has been, I couldn't even imagine how difficult it's been for them. So my heart has went out to them. I have been empathetic of the kids, the children, even the older ones in this situation from day one. My heart goes out to them no matter what. But in this recent podcast, not only do they go into the inhumane conditions in which Todd and Julie Chrisley are currently in, but they also talk about the appeal and the legal aspect of it as well, which We're going to talk about a little bit in this one as well. But before we do, let me turn and just say hello to you guys. Thank you for coming back for round 2 with me. I know these are back-to-back live streams, but I've missed a lot, you guys. And I'm just trying to play catch up and get these knocked out. So thank y'all for being here with me. Hey Tina, thank you for coming back and hanging out. Hey Triple Threat, I gave you a wrench. I don't know if it's not showing up on this end, but I'm pretty sure you are a moderator now. Let's see. Hey Jennifer, how are you? Thank you for being here. Please show. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Triple Threat. I appreciate you. Hey, Ruben's watching. How are you? Happy Sunday. I'm glad you could make it. Let's see. I just want to, hey, Zuna, how are you? Hey, Blake, thanks for coming back and hanging out with us. Okay. Hey, Rhodey. Is it Rhodey or Roddy? They need to realize that they ain't at the Hiltons for sure, for sure. And Savannah does make a little comment about that in this one too. But it's done in a way to where it's like, she says it knowing that that's what the public's going to say, right? Let me turn my light down a little bit. It's a little bit too bright for me. I'm already super pale, so it doesn't help to have a lot of light on me. But she does make a comment about that in here as well that we're going to go over. And I think it's done in a way to where it's like, this is what the audience is going to think about it. But if it was your family member or someone that you loved, then you would want people to have empathy. And I agree to an extent, but also it is prison. So you can't expect it to be like a 5-star place. It's prison. It's prison. It is what it is. And until they can prove innocence, okay, because they have not admitted any guilt, any fault whatsoever. But no matter how you feel about it, whether your opinion is that they are innocent or that they are not, there has not been any proof that they are innocent. So until that proof is shown or until an appeal does go through, they are in prison. They are. And Savannah hinted around to the fact or alluded to the fact that they are working on trying to shed light and bring more awareness of the conditions that these prisons are in. And I do think that it is a conversation, a broader outside of the Chrisleys, right? That needs to be had. It's been an issue. That's a lot of the things about what the Chrisleys say, what Savannah says is she is just not being made aware of it because of her own personal experience with her parents being in there. But these are issues that have been an issue with the government and government funded facilities for a very, very long time, so I've said it from the beginning. I think this has been a very humbling experience for all the Chrisleys, but it also gave them a peek into what so many of us have known and have had issues with for a long time. So I don't disagree with what they are saying here, but I do think it's a much broader issue and problem than just, the Chrisleys. The Chrisleys are in a bad position. No, it's these government facilitated places in general that do not get the funding they need, that do not get the health care they need. And the truth of the matter is yes, if you do the crime, you do the time. And I agree with that. But health care, food, like all those things, I don't think you should be treated less than human. Now, some could say there's exceptions to that depending on the charge. And I get that and I respect it. But for the majority, I don't think that I don't feel like you should be treated less than human because 2 wrongs don't make a right. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. I know some people's going to disagree with that, but yeah, snakes at her bed, Debbie. And hello, I'm glad you are here. They are still human though, and no one deserves to have to live like that. I agree. True crime crazy. That's my argument as well. And I know people are going to disagree with that. But in my opinion, just because someone does something wrong doesn't mean that we should treat them as if they're not human or treat them, you know what I mean? I don't know. But anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and share the screen over. I did clip this for copyright purposes, but the full commentary or the full video podcast episode will be in the description down below if you guys want to go check it out without my commentary. I am going to be stopping this and reacting to it throughout the video, so just be aware of that. And then after this, I want to talk to you guys about the letter that Savannah Chrisley, she has been working on putting letters out to her local, like, surrounding senators. And she read one of these 6 pages long where she's trying to not only bring awareness on the issues, but also fight for her family and fight for her parents. And, you know, at the end of the day, again, no matter how you feel about the Chrisleys, what Savannah is doing is what any daughter would do if they felt like their parents were stuck in prison unjustly. And I have said from the beginning, oh, thank you, Debbie. I feel like I look awful today. This heat, girl, I can't hardly I've got some mascara on. That's about it. I can't keep no makeup on. But I do feel like they got a very large sentence, something way more warranted than the crime itself. And I've said that from the beginning, guilty or not, enough proof evidence was shown to show some kind of guilt. Hey, Lush Leggings Mama, how are you? I'm glad you could make it. But yeah, they got the same thing and did worse than what the Chrisleys did. I agree, Blake Shelton. I agree. I'm just going to say Blake. People's going to be like, Blake Shelton's in her chat. What? But I agree. And that's essentially what I was about to say was I do feel like the charge itself, the time they got, both of them, it's not warranted for the charges. That's just my personal opinion. But again, I think they were made an example of and the books thrown at them because they chose to challenge the courts instead of admitting fault or admitting where they did do wrong. And at the end of the day, whether it was of their knowledge or not, they broke the law. And with the situation being what it was with the IRS and all of that, like, you just don't play with the IRS. They're going to get theirs. So I think that that's what a large part of this was they were made an example of, and they threw the books at them for that purpose because they challenged the courts. But what Savannah is doing as their daughter is nothing out of the realm of what any daughter would do for their parents who they believe is in there unjustly or got time that they did not deserve. And she's fighting for her family. She's fighting for her parents, especially knowing the conditions they're in. So I'm going to go ahead and mute and let's get into this. You guys can see what I mean, because it's a lot. They need to apply for the habeas, I'm going to butcher this, habeas corpus for release for civil rights violation. Now, these two have been convicted a little easier for pretrial detainees, in my opinion. I have never heard of that, Crystal. I'm going to have to look into that. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. I think it was more about channeling the government. Challenging. Do you mean challenging the government? No, I agree. I think so. I think it had a lot to do with that. The courts, the government. I agree. You're right. I definitely agree. On Chrisley Confessions, Todd said they had their maid wash the bedding 3 times a week. He must be. Oh, Bella, are you? See, that's what I mean. Humbling experience for sure. Like, no matter how you flip-flop this, no matter how you feel, this is a humbling experience for them. We have seen them live this lavish lifestyle and flaunt it around and act like for a very long time. So this has had to have been a very humbling experience for the whole family. And if anything, like I said before, I definitely am empathetic of the kids in this situation, grown and minors. It's a sad situation for them. So anytime that Savannah talks about this on the podcast, I always try to tune in and show my support and just let her know that I'm thinking of them. And Manny Faye too, you guys. My heart breaks for her. My heart breaks for her being in the condition she's in and being so sick and knowing that she may never really have her son It's sad. That's sad. And Julie, I know Julie's like a daughter to her. So those things are what really just, man, it pulls on my heartstrings. It really does. But okay, let me go ahead. Hey, Super Snoopers, thanks for coming back. It's so good to see you. And hi, Shallow. Welcome, welcome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute you guys and let's get into this. Oh, before I start, y'all let me know if it's glitchy or laggy or anything. Let me know if you can hear it in the chat. If there's any live technical difficulties, I'll let your girl know. Okay, let's do it.
You went and saw Dad,
I did.
and you got to hear about the cluster of everything going on at his facility.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. It's awful. Mom also, I don't that whole thing is
They're both
insane.
now they both have no air.
Yeah, so
No
they're
air
both
conditioning. They both live in states, or they're both in states where it gets 100 plus degrees and
Yeah.
there's no air conditioning.
And Mom has rattlesnakes just casually slithering on the floor in front of her.
They're poisonous. It was a poisonous snake. I don't know if it was a moccasin or.
Yeah, so she just had snakes literally right there where her bed is.
And then the way they think to apprehend a snake is to mace it. I don't care.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So I know I just mentioned this, but that is crazy to me. Number one, the air conditioning part of it. Like, it's hot. Don't get me wrong. I got two ACs running. We were talking about this in the Discord, but I got two ACs running and it's still hot in here. Okay. So I get it, but also it is prison. And like, other than maybe in like general corridors where they eat and stuff, of course they're not going to have those kinds of amenities, but the snake situation, I don't know if that's just a one occurrence. Now they make it very dramatic and they're talking like this is something that happens on a regular occasion. Poisonous snakes, and the way they apprehend these snakes is by macing them. Like, okay, what? And then what? And then what? What do they do with it then? Like, they mace it and then they put it in a bag and take it out. I have many questions about the snake story here. Y'all let me know what you think about the snake situation. If that is real and that's really happening, that is scary. Like, imagine sleeping and because you get bit by a poisonous snake. You've got, I've heard, allegedly, you've got minutes to make it to a hospital and get that out of you. So that is a scary situation. And if that's happening and that's real, that's terrifying. Like, they got to do something about it other than just macing this. What's that going to do? Slow them down? I don't know, but it's not doing anything. It doesn't do much to them. Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. I wonder how the snakes get in. It's same. There's probably like tunnels and stuff, but and little cracks. It does not take a snake hardly any space to get inside of your home or in anything like that. When I was growing up, we had a snake. It was not a poisonous one, but we did have a snake come in, and it literally got into the crack of our door. And it was such a tiny little crack too. But snakes can get into the smallest areas, but they make it out like this isn't a one-time occasion. Just by the way they're saying, like the mace situation, and that's how they apprehend it. So that is crazy. And I agree, something needs to be done about that. Also, the heat conditions, like, of course, surely they have to have somewhere where some cool air is coming in, because you can you can have a stroke. There's so many things, but I just think that in the aspect of everything they talk about, that's the least of the concerns, because they go into a lot of other issues as well that the Chrisleys are dealing with. And of course, the other prisoners in this facility or these facilities as well. Again, this is not a Chrisley issue. This is a broader overall issue with a lot of prisons. And that's the truth, So let's keep going. I just think that's so crazy. They mace them. What? don't do the crime if you don't want to do the time. Yep, you're right, leggings. You ain't wrong. You're not wrong. Florida snakes are serious. Nap Nation, I couldn't even imagine. I'm scared of the snakes we have here, and they're just like black snakes and garden snakes. You know, I think we do have copperhead snakes, and those are pretty scary. Like they're poisonous, but glad we don't have poisonous snakes here, and we don't really have snakes in general. They're about in a few places in the UK. Good for you, Zuna, because we do here. And last summer, thankfully, knock on wood, we haven't seen any this year right here in our like close to our home. But last year, they were everywhere. They were everywhere. So yeah, they're definitely scary. Definitely.
Okay, if you've killed somebody, if you're in a government facility, you should have air conditioning.
Yeah,
that's
I
just
mean, well, air
ridiculous.
conditioning is just the least of it. Whenever you've got black mold, asbestos,
And
lead-based paint, snakes, and also one thing I don't agree with
it's not fear
is
factor.
well, I mean, Chase, it is prison, so we're not going to sit here and act like it should be the Four Seasons because
Well,
it
I know
shouldn't.
that. I know that, but at the end of the day, it's my parents, so I don't want them, and I don't expect anybody else to feel bad for them. But
I get that, but when people listen to this, again, it's prison, so that's people don't have any sympathy for it.
yeah, I know, I get
And
that.
so people don't want them.
Well, they don't have any
housed.
sympathy until they're in this situation. It's their loved one.
Exactly. So when your loved one's sitting there, literally having a heat stroke and ending up in a hospital or not being fed properly, and
It
then,
pisses you off.
Of course it does. And it's awful. And the fact that now we have the director of the BOP going around and doing visits to these facilities, but the facilities are notified of when she is coming. That's also an issue because these facilities now.
All right. So I just wanted to stop that really quickly. And there's a couple of things I want to say. Number one, when it comes to Chase's comment about, I don't care if you've killed someone, you deserve AC. Again, I don't think the AC part of it is necessarily the big deal here. There are other parts of it that are like, they need to be taken care of. It's in dire need. And no matter the situation, those are things that need to be taken care of. There is laws, there's things in place for a reason. And a lot of these facilities, these prisons do get away with a lot because they're corrupt, just like a lot of other government things, right? Like there's a lot of corruption and in law and order. Like there's a lot of corruption in all of that. The court system, it's been an issue for years and years and years. So I do not disagree with the argument that they're coming up with here. And I do also think them being who they are and having the reputation that they have and having a spotlight and having a fan base and all of these things, that if anyone can maybe get some changes done, it could be someone like them. So I'm glad that there's attention on it. But my hope is that there is change in general, again, broader, that there's awareness and change in a broader spectrum, not just at the facilities that Todd and Julie's at, because they're trying to make it out as if this isn't just about Todd and Julie, it's issues in general, which I agree with, but they wouldn't care if it wasn't their parents. That's just the truth of it. But I also agree with Chase when he says, like, until you're in that situation and you're going through that with your parents or a loved one, like it's easy to sit and judge and say, well, they did it, they deserve it, I don't feel sorry for them, whatever. It's easy to say that, but then when it is your own loved one, it is, of course, chasing them. Like he said, he doesn't expect anyone else to feel for his family or his parents, but of course he's going to be pissed off about it. And I understand that argument and I get it. And also, I just want to make it clear, I have had empathy for the Chrisleys throughout this whole situation. I also am the belief of if they did the crime, they need to do the time, and that is what I believe. Um, However, I do think that there were things done, and I think they got a sentence that was outlandish, and that is the truth. And my heart has went out to their family, who, bless their hearts, they're the ones having to deal with the aftermath of this and the heartache and the pain, and learn a whole new way of life. And in ways, again, I think it's been good for them when it comes to the humbling experience of it all, and maybe even growing up a little bit and not having mommy and daddy there to catch them when they fall. I think that that's been beneficial for them, but also it's just so sad because they were thrown into it in a way that's like, oh, well, you're going to sink or swim, basically. And for the younger ones like Chloe and Grayson, my heart just hurts for them. Like knowing that Chloe asks Savannah every day, when's mama going to be home? That breaks my heart. And then hearing when Nanny Faye came on the podcast, y'all, like hearing her talk about her son and talking about Julie, like that really did it hurt my heart. It did. I didn't check, but Sassy said she had a link for anyone to view of all the paperwork. Oh, yes, it is in the description of the video that I put in the description. So if you guys go watch the full podcast, in the description of that podcast, there is all the paperwork you need to see. Savannah linked it there for context for people to go do their own research, because again, we've covered this. I covered this when the trial was happening. There was a lot of injustice and a lot of things happening that should not have happened in that trial. And instead of it really being looked at in a fair way, they threw the books at them, and they said, oh, well, it doesn't matter. You're guilty. Poof. And again, that is just the facts. If you look at the paperwork, you will see that when it comes to Betty Carter and her testimony, we now know that that was not legitimate. It was not a legitimate testimony. She admitted to the Chrisleys and their attorneys that she gave a false testimony, that looking back, she gave false testimony, and that was not put on the books. It was not fixed. It was not re-looked at, nothing. Along with the illegal search where they got a lot of this information, like there were things that happened in this trial that was not fair and unjust. Again, no matter how you feel about the Chrisleys, that is the facts, and that's why I was rooting for a retrial. I was rooting for that so much for them. And I hope that this appeal goes through and that they can get eyes on this for someone to take them seriously with that, because I've said it from the beginning. If they are guilty, I do think there's some guilt there. That's just me being honest. Thank you, Bella, for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Thank you. But I do believe there is some guilt there. I just do not think that they are guilty of everything that has been thrown at them. And I also think that the sentence they got is just outlandish. People use the example a lot about what Josh Duggar done, and the fact that, like, how does someone get the same amount of time or similar time as what no, it's crazy. Their lawyers did them a disservice by not letting them know difference of time of no remorse. Yeah. I also think that's what resonates with them. Rich kid problems. True, Nap Nation. True. I get that vibe too. Hey, Curls. How are you, girlfriend? How's your weekend going? I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I do agree that they were cheated in their trial. I think so many things were done to them that were wrong and that were lies and were proven, yet still accepted. Amen. I agree. I'm just not convinced about right. No, I get what you're saying. And I question the legitimacy behind it too. It seems very dramatic. And so I'm curious about that, but I do think that as a whole, overall, there is a lot of issues with those types of facilities not getting the care that they need, or not getting, the money put into them that they need to keep humans alive. And you see it all the time of people being neglected and malnourished in these types of facilities. And that is a real thing. It's not a Chrisley thing. It's a real thing, So yeah. Don't jails and prisons turn off the air or heat to control the jails. I think some do, Debbie. I think some do. And what she was going into, what we're fixing to hear, is her go into how these particular facilities that she's talking about actually like get prepared. And I seen this. I don't know if you guys watched, what is that show? Oh my goodness. There was this show. Was it Breaking Bad? I can't remember what show it was, but there was this show that was like, no, Orange is the New Black. Orange is the New Black. If any of you guys watched that show, you know, it was about jails, prison, and it showed how the warden got prepared for like reviews whenever people would come in and do the test. That is a real thing where they know about it before those people come in to check things, and they'll do everything they got to do. It's just like a lot of other businesses. Like when I worked at McDonald's, it was the same way. We would run things a certain way, but when we knew that the store manager was coming, we did things, you know, like that's a real thing. The difference is this is people that we're talking about, and it's either way, those things happen. And it has been shown in different documentaries and things like that. So again, this isn't a new issue. It's been an issue, and they're not wrong. It's just, I know, and Savannah and them have said this too. They wouldn't care if it wasn't them. They would still be where they were before, being very judgmental of others and criminals and things like that. And Savannah has said that many times, that she looked down on people like that. So this has been humbling for her in that aspect. And I always say it, you guys, everything happens for a reason. And that could be the reason there, just the humbling experience of it all. And being able to see like there is no amount of money, no amount of reputation, social media followers, whatever it is you got, cars, none of it, that makes you better than anyone else. And what's happening to this homeless man on the street today could be you tomorrow. So why act better than, or act judgmental, or point your nose down at others? Why do that? And I think that could be a big part of this whole situation. Like everything happens for a reason, period. So let's keep going. I agree with home confinement. Why tax the state when they can pay for themselves? People need to understand how incredibly easy it is to end up in a situation you never imagined and having this happen. Amen, Tina. I agree, girlfriend. I totally, totally agree with you there. They got way too much time. Josh should have gotten way more. I agree. I agree, you guys. You guys are on point with this one. I fully agree. So let's keep going.
Now have time to go and hide everything they need hidden.
Not fix the problem,
No.
just temporarily hide it so
Yeah.
no one sees it. Yeah.
Exactly, because that's all that's happening is these prisons are being notified of when the director is coming. So now they have time to scramble and fix all of their mess ups just temporarily, just put a band-aid on it. What's so sad is these people who are speaking out about it or want to speak out about it are being retaliated against. And it's just wrong. I mean, there are some things that are going to come to light that are
disgusting.
It will leave people speechless about the things that go on in these facilities. And it's just crazy to sit and watch mom and dad go through that. But luckily they have the fight in them to.
They're strong.
Exactly.
And they've remained loyal to each other. They love each other.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, like, that's the biggest organized crime that I've ever seen is the government.
Well,
and owning and operating places like this to where it's making money for them, but it's literally putting people's lives in danger from the conditions.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the conditions are awful, and it's sad. It breaks my heart, but again, things will be revealed when it's time. And the information that has come to me is astonishing.
In boatloads.
Literally in boatloads that have been mailed, emailed, direct messaged. I mean,
phone calls.
It's crazy. The amount of no caller ID calls that I get, insane. Because everyone always wants an update on how mom and dad are doing, and they're doing fine.
They're very, very strong individuals.
Well, yeah,
and they were not built to break, and this damn sure is not going to break them.
No, and two, these tabloid stories that are coming out that I find to be laughable, that come out that say that they're just, they're falling apart. They have no faith. They, feel so guilty for what they've done. All of that is bullshit. It's all a complete lie. It is so false. The narrative that we give is the truth, and that truth is that they are in inhumane conditions, but while in inhumane conditions, they're keeping their sanity.
They're keeping their faith.
They're putting one foot in front of the other. So they're not giving up. There is no admission of guilt. They have, since the beginning,
they've always said that they are innocent.
Exactly.
All right. So that was that clip. And again, sorry. And again, I think that it is good to raise awareness on these issues, but the thing that concerns me, or the thing that I am curious about, is if they're going to be raising awareness on the issue as a whole, because I know she said that they have gotten a lot of different things being sent to them. Like they said, phone calls, messages, DMs. So that leads me to believe that this is going to be a larger thing, from all different people's testimonies who have been in different facilities. And I think that could be a beneficial, I don't know if it's going to be a docu-series, whatever, but she definitely alludes to the fact that there is something coming that's going to be exposing how corrupt the government is, and especially when it comes to things like this. Again, these are not new issues, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. And when she says, when you guys hear these things, it's going to shock you. I don't know how many of us are going to really be shocked, though. And that's just the truth, because many of us have known that these are issues within our government and within these facilities and just as a whole for a very long time. So but some people may be. And I do look forward to seeing what's going to come of that and what they got planned when it comes to raising awareness and things being brought to light, and if it will make any changes with these issues. This is that message again, right message, but people see them as privilege. Yes, amen, which they were. Wrong communicators, if that makes sense. Absolutely, Tina. And that's where a lot of people get closed off with the situation, because they see it's Savannah and Chase Chrisley. They've never had a struggle a day in their life. They're privileged. They've got money. They don't know what struggle is. And I get it. There's a big part of me that gets it. I have an empathetic heart, so I feel for Savannah and Chase and what they're going through. And I don't think that anybody, I don't think their parents deserve that. But I also do question, like many of you have said in the chat, how much of it is being dramatized, how much of it is real. So I do look forward for more information to come out. Nonetheless, I can't imagine being the child, getting that information. And that does kind of make me feel some type of way too, because you got to think Savannah Chrisley's already trying to start this new life and deal with all these things, and raising a child now, and also helping Grayson through life, all these things that she wasn't used to doing before, and living a completely different lifestyle. And of course she has help, right? I'm sure she has a maid and nannies and things like that, but it's still very different. The responsibility level, it falls on her shoulders. Plus, she's trying to fight for her parents. And to hear that your mother is in these conditions, or to hear that your father is in these conditions, I have to be honest with y'all. And this is no shade, this is no hate, it's just the truth. If this were me and I was Julie Chrisley or I was Todd Chrisley and I was in prison because of some choices or whatever that I had made, I would not put those things on my children. Even if I was in an inhumane condition or struggling, or I'm not going to worry my kids. I know they're already worrying. I know they're already scared. They're already concerned about me. So why each time I talk to them would I be scaring them more? And that's just me. We all parent differently, and I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, like, that's just me. That these kids already have so much that they're having to adjust to and deal with, and knowing that it's going to scare them, knowing that it's out of their control and there's nothing they can do about it. I just wouldn't want to even put those concerns and fears in my children's heart, no matter how old they are. Again, that's just my opinion. But with that being said, my camera went out, so I'm trying to fix my camera. Hold on, you guys. Let's see here. I don't know why, but it's been doing that lately. It's frustrating. Okay, there we go. Let me pull myself back up. Okay, so with that being said, I do also want to talk about, so along with, discussing this and Chase coming on and kind of giving his testimony on things that his dad has told him and different things like that, they also talked about, like, Savannah's been doing a lot. Not only has she been speaking out on the podcast about this, but she has been reaching out, as I said before, to senators and different people of power, trying to get someone to look at the paperwork, someone to look at this trial, the case, and see the issues that took place and how they were overlooked and how illegal things were done, and no one cared. Nobody cared, And so she has been writing these letters to senators and, again, people of power. And she showed one of those on this podcast. And you guys, when I say, she said this was a 6-page letter. And again, I highly recommend you guys go listen to this for yourself, because she does bring up some really good points when it comes to the trial itself and the things that happened within it that got overlooked. But the way she starts this off, again, it pulled on my heartstrings. I just got a quick clip of it to give you guys an idea of the letters that she's sending. And she said that she's going to be sending this to a lot of different people. 6-page, I couldn't even imagine. I don't know if she typed these things out herself or if she got assistance, but either way, she is taking this seriously. She's doing everything she can to help her parents in this moment and get justice for them and all of this and bring them home, which is her main goal at the end of the day. And I get it. I get why she would want that. No matter how I feel and my opinions on all of it and what I think of the Chrisleys, are they guilty? Are they not? I get why she wants them home and why she's going through these measures to try to make it happen. So let's get into that. It's only a minute long, and then we're going to wrap this up. But I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on just all of this, especially this. It's a lot. So let's get into it.
This letter is directed to Senator Scott. And I say, I'm sure that your office receives hundreds, perhaps thousands of letters a month, all different types of requests for help and assistance. I never imagined I would become one of those who's desperately reaching out for help, but I'm indeed in desperate need of help. Despite the fact that I've told my family and siblings that I'm doing everything in my power to get our parents home, I realized that I needed to take another step and begin pursuing help from anyone and anywhere that I can find a captive audience and someone who's willing to just listen. I need to be heard. My family needs to be heard. My siblings who ask me every day, when are mom and dad going to come home? They need to be heard. I'm turning to you now and asking you to please read this letter with an open mind. If even one piece of this information strikes you as government overreach, I ask that you please contact me and let me provide you with the actual evidence that substantiates my claims. Please let me show you what's happened to my family. I'm hoping that through that process, maybe we can undo this injustice and bring my family home.
Am I still muted? My bad, you guys. I can mute it on the side here, and I totally did. Anyways, what I was saying was it just breaks my heart because it pulls on the heartstrings, and you can see that Savannah's doing everything in her power to. You still can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you, triple threat. Okay. My apologies, you guys. Anyways, it does. It breaks my heart. I feel for the children involved in this. And I see that Savannah's fighting. She's fighting hard to try to do what's right, do right by her parents. And she's got the weight of the world on her shoulders right now. And my heart does go out to her for that. And you can see, like, what I will say, what I will give her is she puts the link, as someone said, she puts the link in the description, and she just wants, all she wants is for people to go look for themselves. We heard the trial, a lot of us followed it, but not everyone looked at the paperwork. Not everyone looked at everything that happened and said, oh, wait a minute, like that, something ain't right about that. I did. I looked at the paperwork in real time as it happened. And many of you were here with me as I reported on these things and talked about it and talked about, whoa, something ain't right here. Something ain't right here. These things, something ain't adding up. These things are not okay. Like, not okay. But it didn't matter. At the end, it didn't matter. And now they're really, really focusing on this appeal and trying to get that appeal looked at and someone take it seriously. And that's really the only hope that they've got when it comes to those things and those things being righted, righting the wrong, however you say that. And that's really all they can do is just hold on to that hope, bring awareness to the things like the healthcare and the inhumane conditions. I think, like Tina said, because of the privilege that they have and who they are, a lot of people don't take them seriously because of that. But you guys can do your own research into these things and see the issues, and I hope people do that. If you're not already researched on it or well reversed on it, look into it and see that these are real issues. I know it's maybe a bit harder to take it seriously with it being Savannah and Chase and them living a lavish lifestyle, never really having to know what struggle is, but they're not lying. It is a real thing. So hopefully they can raise awareness, and hopefully it'll be for a broader purpose and not just for Todd's facility and Julie's facility. And that's really all we can hope for. And that these things that did happen in that trial, as I've said from the beginning, I do hope that someone looks at that appeal. I would love to see a retrial. I know that's not going to happen. Okay. I know that's not going to happen, but I would have loved to have seen that happen because I do think in fairness, it needed to happen. But, the cookie crumbles the way the cookie crumbles, you guys. Let me know what you think on all of this in the comments down below. I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter for you guys because, I can ramble. I can ramble and ramble all night. I can. But I appreciate you all so very much. And I want to know what you think on this one. If you've been following the Chrisleys and all of everything that's happened, like it's been a lot. And honestly, at the end of the day, like my final say on it, my final thoughts is just my heart goes out to the kids, especially Chloe and Nanny Faye too. My heart just, it does. It's hurt from them from the very beginning of the Chrisleys starting their time and hearing the struggles and the things that they're going through. I know, privilege or not, that it's been a huge adjustment for them. My heart goes out to them for that alone. And I hope that they can get things done and raise awareness on these things that are big deals. I just hope that in doing so, they're doing it for the right reasons and not just for selfish reasons or just for them, but for the bigger picture, because there definitely is a bigger picture here. But let me see what you guys are saying really quick before I end this one. And I can't remember which country it is, but there's one with a very low readmittance in prison due to the rehabilitation. There's a lot of prisons like that, Zuna. And I've got family members myself that really had a hard time being rehabilitated and ended up back in prison for the majority of their life. Hey, Angie, I'm glad you could stop on by. But the UK lacks it to some extent too, but I think it's better than the US. Yeah, I've heard that, Zune. I've heard there's a lot of the issues we struggle with, you guys have too, but it's just not to the same extent. A lot of issue here is there has been a way that people run things for a long time, how people in power run things for a long time and got away with things for a long time. And there hasn't been anything done about it for decades upon decades. So, but you guys let me know what you think again in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please consider giving this video a big thumbs up and subscribing if you have not already. That way you are updated on all my future content. I appreciate you all to the moon and stars. And until my next one, bye guys.